Our next step, we need to shade our apple. We need to give it some value. So what we are going to do is we are going to start with our 4B pencil. That is our blue pencil. And we are going to go in and we are going to color very hard on our stem. Okay, so we're going to color in our stem here with our 4B pencil. And if we look, there's a little bit of a light line here. So right in the middle, I'm going to leave just a little bit of white showing. And I'm going to bring this all the way down to that curved line that we added in, okay? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 4B pencil and I'm going to color at the bottom of my apple. So I'm going to press really firmly down here, not as hard as I can. This is more of a medium gray, because we're going to use our darkest gray when we get to the shadow down here, okay? So we're going to press, and we're going to color this bottom part of our apple. Now, before I get too far, I notice I have a white spot here. So I can take my pencil and just draw a little oval shape or a little shape there, okay? And then up along this edge right here, I also want to leave this white. So right along that curve, I'm going to leave those two spots white, but I can color in the rest. I'm going to press hard at the bottom and not press as hard near the top. Okay, so I'm using my 4B for this whole apple. This is your blue pencil, your 4B pencil. We're going to color in this whole apple with our 4B pencil. And remember, I like to shade with the side of my lead. If it's easier to hold it like you normally would, that's fine too. I just find that I have an easier time when I use the side of my lead. And I try to move my pencil the same direction the whole time. So you can see I'm kind of going in a diagonal here. And again, we're trying to stay inside the lines. So trying to keep it in. It's okay if we go outside, we'll just get our eraser. And we want this to be lighter than our stem, so don't press hard. Keep it nice and soft. Okay, so I want this to be a little bit darker down here at the bottom, so I'm going to go back over it one more time. Remember, we talked about in class, the more we color over an area, the darker it will look. This is what we call layering our graphite or layering our pencil. Okay, so I'm just building this up so it's a little bit darker down here. Okay, I'm gonna finish my apple first before I move on to the leaf. So I'm gonna grab my blender, make sure you use the dark side at the bottom. So now I'm taking the side of my blender, I'm pinching it between my fingers, and I'm pressing firmly, and I'm using this to smooth out my values. If you lose this, remember you can do the same thing with a Kleenex. So if this is easier, if you take a Kleenex or a tissue and put it on your finger like this, you can also take and smooth out your values too. So if you've lost your blender, this would be another option. Now I don't want to keep using the same area when I get up higher. So if I put my finger in the tissue here and wrap it around it, I could use that to do the blending up here at the top. I'm not pressing real hard. I'm trying to stay within my apple here. So it's up to you, whichever feels more comfortable. If you'd rather use the tissue or if you'd rather use the blender. Okay, so the next thing, I am going to go back to my blender for this. I'm gonna use the light side this time. And I'm just gonna do a little bit of light blending right up along that highlight. I want a little bit of value there, but not as much, I don't want as much gray as what we had below. I'm gonna do a little blending around this area here. Okay, so I've got my apple colored in now. So I can take my eraser if I need to, and I just run it. It's almost like I'm drawing with my eraser. I'm drawing around the outside edge, or I'm pulling it around the outside edge of my apple to get rid of any extra pencil that I don't need anymore. Okay, and then I've got all that little eraser dust, so I can just shake my paper and it'll go away. Okay, so the next thing I need to do, I'm gonna color in the leaf. Okay, so I'm gonna take my blue 4B pencil again this time, and I want the bottom side to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to color it in with my 4B pencil right here. And then I'm gonna switch to my number 2 pencil for the top side of my leaf. So this is your yellow pencil, my number 2 HB pencil, you can see there at the end. So I can use that to do the top side of my leaf. And you're gonna lose your leaf lines, and that's okay. Okay, we can go back in. So now I'm gonna take my blender, I'm gonna use the dark side here for the bottom of the leaf. I'm gonna blend that in. And then I'm gonna flip it over and use the light side, or the L side of my blender. And then I need to take my pencil and I'm gonna trace back over my line. So I'm gonna add that line back down the middle with my 4B pressing firmly. And I'm gonna add some lines that stick out from it on the right side and some lines that stick out from it on the left side. Okay, the last thing we need to do is we need to give it a cast shadow. So you might remember from class, the cast shadow is where the object blocks the light from hitting the table. So we're going to take and color underneath our object here. So right under our apple here, we're gonna press pretty hard, and we're gonna make almost like a squash circle, what we call an oval. So we're gonna bring it just up around the bottom edge a little bit. And I'm pressing really firmly here to get a nice dark, dark, dark gray. All right, so I've got my circle here. Now I can take my blender. Again, I'm using the dark side of my blender. And I'm going to smooth over this. And then remember, with our shadows, we like to run this blender outside of the shadow. So if we rub our blender along the outside here, it creates that soft edge to our shadow. So it's okay if yours doesn't look like mine. Just try to include some areas that have some light gray in it, try to include some areas that have some medium gray, and try and include some areas that have some dark gray. That's what I'm going to be looking for, how we're doing with creating our different values in our objects. Please let me know if you have any questions.